Hey, good morning, friends. Hello, hello. Good morning. How are you today? Hey, Bob Guinan, good morning. Hope you are well. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Good morning. Great to see you. Hi, Donna. Glad you're here. Great. Good morning, good morning. I hope everybody can hear and see me okay this morning. Let me know if you would. Um, we're just, Facebook keeps making some changes, so I never quite know if we're, no matter how much testing we do, it's whether or not we're good. I hope you are well. Good morning, Linda. Gary sent me a picture last night. It's very exciting. It's happening, everybody. That is, I do hope it's I do hope it's a sweet adventure for you guys. Morning, John. Maybe in a couple minutes waiting customer show. Oh, very nice. That's great. That's good news. I hope that happens a lot. So, um, hope you're doing well and that uh, how so. Hey, good morning, Amy. Glad you're with us. Hope you're having a good day today. How are you, everybody? Hello, hello. Robin Carden. Oh, my favorite two in the whole wide world. So it's scary and exciting. I know, right? Like that's the adventure of life, though. That's so I'm so excited you guys decided to take the plunge. That is terrific. Look good, sound great. Thank you, Donna. I appreciate that. That's kind. It's yeah. It's, the technical challenges have been real. We have been we've been uh, yeah, the last 4 weeks we have been challenged here on Sunday morning. 11:11 seem fine, but I think Facebook seems to be pushing their updates on Sunday mornings and getting us snarled up in that. So, Amy, going cross-eyed looking for my class. Oh, good. Well, I hope it's rich and I hope it's sweet. I hope it is. You're getting great things out of this class. I look forward to talking with you more about it. Good morning, Priscilla. So glad you're here. Hope things in Ohio are great. Um, so, good morning, everybody. Let's get going. It is the 27th day. This is our last week of April, friends. Our last week of April. The 27th day of April on Tuesday at another 11:11, and I am thrilled that you are here. That we're continuing this journey together for another week, and that our ability to come together and journey together is an encouragement because it's an encouragement to me. I know I just often start off with that, but I just want to remind you that I think I'm often here the one kind of the noisemaker and the kind of the blaster out of things over here. But I want to know you to know that it is the fact that you're here, whether you're here with us live right now, or whether you are catching us later in the day, or maybe this is the first time you found. 1111 and that you're just kind of wondering what this is all about. We are glad you are here. This is ongoing community for over a year now of our journeying together, and that is beautiful and rich. And gosh, it's pretty rare, isn't it? Isn't it pretty rare? It's pretty rare in other parts of my life that we would have this continuing connection. Good morning, Irene. Glad you're here. Glad you made it. So this morning I want to talk about this line from Matthew. This is Jesus' ministry is just starting to get going. And he comes along he starts getting criticism. Now, he and John the Baptist are out there. John the Baptist, if you remember, comes along to announce Jesus' coming, announce his arrival. He's talking about the one who will come after me. And so, but he's also got these criticisms, the critiques of from all kinds of people, not just the Pharisees and the Sadducees, but all kinds of folks that are looking at these two prophets, and that's kind of what they are at this point, this Jesus guy and this John guy, and they're trying to figure out what to make of them. And Jesus' response to all of these complaints is this. He says, John came neither eating nor drinking. Now, because John, if you remember, went out in the wilderness, was this really austere life. He only foraged for food. He wasn't a part of civilized society. He was this kind of wild guy on the edge of creation. And they said, John came, this is Jesus' observation of what's going on. He says, John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he has a demon. And the Son of Man came eating and drinking. And they say, look, he's a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. And this is Jesus' little line. And it was pointed out to me by Len Sweet this morning in one of his reflections. And it's such a sweetness. And I hope it can be, at least for me, and I hope it can be a sweetness for you. And this is the line. He says, yet wisdom is vindicated by her deeds. And that now really that's one translation. I think the better translation is actually, and I think it's actually closer. This is translators playing fast and loose. Translators lie. Don't ever let them fool you. And it said, yet wisdom is vindicated by her children. You see, because we start with this notion that wisdom. And the translator is trying to make us here in the 21st century, listen to me, 21st century kind of make sense of this, because so it's really talking about deeds. But the actual translation is children. Wisdom is vindicated by her children, by her offspring. Well, why is this? Who's this wisdom character anyway? Wisdom is talked about throughout the entire Bible as Sophia. We have some Sophias in our midst, and that Sophia is not this kind of intellectual thing. We in the 21st century have taken this idea of wisdom and made it this thing that we're out there just kind of, we can be a master of wisdom, or we can be a person of wisdom, or we can but wisdom is never this. Wisdom was a character of faith in Bible. Character of this woman that has this wisdom, that is the embodiment of wisdom. You find it again and again and again in Proverbs, in the teachings over and over and over again. And here you find it with Jesus. Jesus is referring to Sophia. When he says wisdom, he's saying the word is Sophia. He says Sophia is this one that is vindicated by her deeds. Sophia is vindicated by her children. Sophia's kids are what is vindicated. It is what brings life, brings rightness, brings truth, brings goodness, brings wonder, vindicates, casts away all of the criticisms and critiques and the things that you are doing wrong, vindicates with her children. Now, I know I'm kind of hammering on this a little bit, but I really want to bring us into this feeling state and this idea of what Jesus is talking to. Because remember what's happening here. God sends John to work this out. Jesus comes into the world to help work this out. John acts in one way. Jesus acts in another way. They're very different characters, and yet they're both criticized. I think that this really resonated with me because there was this way which I believe we're in this kind of damned if we do, damned if you don't culture. I mean, you're all listening to me on on Facebook Live and the whole world of Facebook and all that sort of thing. And you can make and any one of us who's spent any time on the social media platforms or just in conversation with people these days, we can end up finding ourselves kind of feeling like we need vindication, like we need because we're like backing away slowly as somebody gets fired up about whatever it is they're fired up about. They're that we either have a demon because we're not doing the right thing. We're either a drunkard or because we don't care. We're that all of these and I use those as kind of the euphemisms, the way that Jesus is talking about them, is to say that no matter what we seem to be able to do these days, there's always somebody that wants to take a shot at us for it. And I've talked with my other preacher friends and that sort of stuff, and we certainly, as people who talk for a living, encounter that. But the reality is we're all encountering it. We're all right in the middle of this. And what's Jesus' response? It's that the idea is that we're going to be criticized. We're going to, and he says, Sophia is vindicated by her children. Wisdom is vindicated by her deeds. That we are to court Sophia. We are to invite Sophia into our life and to then make our choices. John, faithful as he is, makes his choices to be the wild man in the world, to invite people into the wilderness, to invite people into the place they have never been before in his austere and radical way. Jesus, in his loving and holy and amazing way, invites us to the table with him. Radically different personalities, declaring the kingdom of God. Friends, I'm not here to tell you how to declare the kingdom of God. That is your personality, and that is your way to do it. That is your call to make in these days. That is between you and your Creator. What I am here to say this morning is that it is critically important that you let Sophia bear her children and let them vindicate the world. Because I believe it's the Spirit's at work in all of that. That when Sophia goes to work, the Spirit is right there, midwifing the very best and beautiful that is going to come into this world. That when we sing our song, when we declare our truth, when we hold up that which we were made to do and be, well, Sophia is vindicated by her children. We are what we bring to this world. John Paul Sartre says that we are our choices. We are our choices. And no two of us, friends, are going to choose the same way. I mean, we're all kind of deciding about whether or not we're going to get a medical intervention, whether we are going to get a medical intervention. We're all deciding about what our relationship is with other people and our connections with the world and how we're going to negotiate that, how we're not going to negotiate that, all of that. But there is a Sophia that calls to you. There is a wisdom that calls to you that is beyond all of the criticisms. Somebody's going to criticize you for everything you do. This is what Jesus is pointing out. He says John lived the opposite way to Jesus, and Jesus lived the opposite way to John. And yet they all took rounds. They all took fire. They all took criticism right to their death. Right to their death. And yet in the midst of all of that, we're invited on the grand adventure of Sophia, of wisdom, of courting the relationship of our truth and birthing it into the world. This is what C.S. Lewis says. He says, make your choice, adventurous stranger. I love that. Make your choice, adventurous stranger. Strike the bell, and bide the danger, or wonder till it drives you mad. What would have followed if you had? Sophia's waiting, pregnant, to bear her children. Your truth is gestating inside of you. And we think that our truth will get us into trouble because somebody's going to criticize us about it, right? That's what we think. So we play small. We make sure we double edit our posts. We make sure but our truth is more than that. It's the very thing that the world needs for liberation. It's the very thing that the world needs for vindication, is the truth of our being. And I'm not here to tell you what your truth is, but I'm here to tell you that we so desperately need it. And that this little community over here with us, you and me, this our little group that we have assembled here, we are warriors in truth together, friends. We are midwives of truth. We are pursuers of Sophia in all of her beauty. Probably one of the greater books ever written is a book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Frankl was a psychologist sent to the concentration camps in Germany. And he watched and he witnessed what happened and what was going on with his fellow prisoners in the concentration camps. And this, he has this writing and this way of putting things in this almost just slightly detached enough way for us to be able to see that what happens when we bring Sophia in, when we bring in wisdom and the vindication that can come from that. Not because the whole world is radically transformed in the way in which we think it should be, but because the goodness and peace and grace are born in the midst of all of the tearing down and the criticisms of the John way of being or the Jesus way of being or any other way of being. This comes from Frankl's book. He writes this. He says, man can preserve a vestige of spiritual freedom. Remember, he's talking about being in the middle of the concentration camps. People starving around him. People horribly mistreated. He's in this with them. And this is his observation of us. He says, man can preserve a vestige of spiritual freedom or independence of mind, even in terrible conditions of psychic and physical distress. We who lived in concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a person but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, and to choose one's own way. Sophia is vindicated by her children. The vindication of this world is from the offshoot of our embracing of Sophia, embracing of our truth, embracing of our call, embracing of our being in this world, and letting it bear its children. For Frankel, it was those men who walked among the broken and the starving and handed out their last pieces of bread. They would take the criticisms of the world quite literally upon their own starving flesh, and in it extend love and grace and peace to those around them. The invitation today, friends, is that we might know what that great and wondrous journey that God has invited us to, that is going to get us criticized. It's going to get somebody, it's going to fire somebody up. Somebody's going to shoot a howler at you. Somebody's going to throw a rock at you. Somebody's going to tell you you're wrong. It does not matter, because what it is you declare as your truth, someone these days are going to find it false. The question is, will you court your relationship with Sophia and let her children vindicate not just you and not just the world, but the very truth of the world itself? That is what the Spirit calls us to, and that is what Jesus the Christ came to this world to do. Jesus goes to the cross not because he has to go to the cross, not because he can't get away from the Romans, not because he's powerless, but because he stands and declares his truth so radically, so powerfully, so right in the midst of the rejection and the violence of the world, stands and offers up Sophia, his Sophia. And what did we find 3 days later it happened to do? Come back to life, and its children vindicate all of creation and set us free in the resurrection of Christ Jesus and the overcoming of sin and death. This is deep and hard and true within our very being, friends. So my encouragement for you in these days is, don't worry about the voices that are going to come after you. Don't worry about let Sophia bear her children. Let Sophia do her work. Let her loose upon the world. And in that, we will find that whether we are called a glutton or a drunkard, or whether somebody says we have a demon, whether we are a friend to tax collectors and sinners, it matters not, because Sophia is vindicated by her children. And so too is your truth made right in this world by your declaration and offering of it forth into the world. It's what we so desperately need, friends. It's what we so desperately need. And it is the only way, I believe, for us lovingly and powerfully to move beyond this little concentration camp of ideas that we seem to have found ourselves in these days. Frankel says it. A person can preserve a vestige of spiritual freedom. We can preserve it. We have preserved it. You have it. And the last of all the human freedoms is to choose our attitude in any given set of circumstances and to choose our own way. Let Sophia vindicate your life with her children these days. All right, friends, that's my hope for you these days. I I will. A couple of commercials before we go this today. I want to just remind us about the work of our church and just kind of what we have going on. If you don't know, we have yoga here at 6 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursday nights. Thursday nights are actually, if you want to join remotely, you can actually join remotely. There's a link for that, and it is on. You can join a Zoom class. So if you want to know more about that, you can just message us, and we can hook you up with those links. Also, tomorrow night we have our family night, which is for everybody in the church. When it says family, it's not just for families; it's for the entire church family. So that we get the opportunity to come together for a meal. There'll be there's a meal where I think we're going low key this week. We're having kind of pizza and pasta and salad, and then we'll have a bit of a study, and the kids will go upstairs and play, and we'll have a bit of a study. Tomorrow night, we're going to talk about some of the disciplines. We're going to talk about some of the things that are ways that we can use to court Sophia. That's going to be our topic tomorrow night. And so, in all of this, I just want to continue to invite you to journey with us here at 1111. Extend the thing. Oh, the last invitation I was going to say is please like our Facebook, our YouTube page. We're all of the last year's 1111s are on there. If you want to go back and look at stuff, you can see me with a mustache, see me without a mustache. All of that is there, and we're really hoping to make a trove and a work of that, an offering for the world in that. So and that requires you to like it so that people in the world can know that it's there. So I really want to encourage you to like our YouTube page as well. All right, friends, that's my hope. I hope you have a date with Sophia today. Peace and grace to you all.